All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here at the Business Networking Roundtable Podcast, where we talk about important topics to business owners and learning from a season's suite of executives and folks that have had run small businesses, work with small business owners. My name is David Carr, here of Steward Your Business, where my focus is organizational health, team building, alignment with the business owners. So I love that part of what I get to do. And I'll have each of our panel members introduce themselves, starting with Doc C.
Hello, Curtis Cochran here. We're a mergers and acquisitions firm, and we help build businesses to prepare them to exit. And thank you for inviting me one more time each and every week. I love it. Thank you.
Excellent. And we've got Bil Hatch, who joined us for the first time last week. We got him back this week. So, Bill, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Let's see. I am a leadership guide and podcaster. I teach a form of leadership called ethical leadership, which is based on 8 actionable behaviors that are designed to bring teams together and in support of their leader, as opposed to making the leader an island unto him or herself. And I also have my own podcast. In fact, I'll be recording another episode tomorrow of Not Quite After Midnight, and on my own production label called Bald Spots Productions.
Awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
I have one.
Thank you, Bill. If you couldn't tell, Bill's amazing voice here. We're glad to have you, Bill. And Stacey, welcome back. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, gentlemen. I represent the women on the team here.
Yes.
So my name is Stacey Kinoshita. I am a business resource specialist, and what I do is work with business owners on strategies in 2 areas of their business. One is addressing their workforce concerns, and the other is their cash flow. The workforce concerns are through employee programs, such as group benefits, and all types of other programs to create a company culture, so their staff will love working for them. And as far as their cash flow, looking for strategies to either pre-tax benefits or see if they qualify for state and federal tax incentives to put more money back into their bottom line to be more profitable. So
yes, we're big advocates for small business. Thank you, Stacey. And finally, we got Charlie here tonight, who's going to actually be our facilitator in our conversation. So welcome, Charlie. Welcome back. It's been a little while since we had you. We're glad to have you back. And go ahead and introduce yourself and share your topic for the night.
Thank you, David. It's always a pleasure, and it's my plum-pleasing pleasure and privilege to be here with y'all fine lady and gentlemen. So a little bit about myself. I'm the CXO, Chief Experience Officer over at Intellisys. We do cybersecurity for small to mid-sized companies. And I'm very excited to be the facilitator for tonight's session, which is going to be on core values. What are they, why they matter, and how they can transform your business. And it actually dovetails perfectly into last week's session, which is Know Thyself. So if you didn't get to catch that yet, definitely check that out. And part of knowing thyself as a company, as a business, is to figure out what are your core values. So I'd love to hear your take on what are core values. So we'll start with you, David, and we'll go around. Go ahead, David.
Well, there are so many things, but really for me, core values are getting clear at what is meaningful to me. And values to me are, as a small business owner, core values to me is being clear about those and bringing that to the marketplace, because you have to find people that are in alignment with your values. And if you can't articulate them clearly, it's really hard to connect with people, in my experience. So
Exactly.
It's important. It's really important to understand what is valuable to you and then articulating them, because there's a lot of different things. And so the challenge for me was and is to, what are the priority? in those as well. So I'm excited to learn from other folks here in our conversation about where do those values fit in. But definitely that's key to me. Knowing what's important and what you value, and then as a small business owner, how do I marry that with others that have that same value or need that in which I value and can bring.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't just have it live in your head.
No, doesn't. You got to be able to articulate it very clearly.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, perfect. Doc C, what about you? What are core values in your definition?
That's such a good question. You know, it's kind of what are we on, week 3 or 4? I can't remember, but we started with beliefs, and of course last week know thyself, and really core values in itself is, you know, belief systems. And when you're dealing with business or cultures, you know, you have compassion, accountability, competition, personal growth. I mean, all of these things. I mean, there's just a variety of different types of core values. But my big question as you dive into tonight is maybe, are these core values subjective or objective? And can they be defined one way or the other, especially for maybe a company? So that's kind of been my interest when we start talking about core values or common core values.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Thank you for your feedback on that, Doxy. Stacey, I'd love to hear your take on what are core values.
You know, I'm excited to be diving into this too, because we kind of touched on it last week. I know that Doxy was talking about relating to systems. We brought up culture. David mentioned, that it is a set of beliefs and principles that are important to you and your organization, that you want to guide the behavior and the decisions within your organization. And, you know, we also last week touched on that your core values and the company culture needs to be established by the leadership. Because, I mean, I've seen corporations where it wasn't either stated or it wasn't, I don't know if you can enforce core values, but there was no buy-in. And so you had employees creating this whole chaos. At some point, even the business owner may be held hostage by the gangsters in the company, because a set of core values were established apart from what the owner's original thoughts were. But they definitely are principles. And, you know, I'm excited about digging deep, because I know that we're talking about what they are, but, you know, really business owners need to understand why they're important, and how do you establish a culture that will be able to foster those core values. So
Absolutely.
anyway.
We'll get to the why in a second here. Thank you for your feedback, Stacey. I absolutely believe that, yeah, you definitely got it. That's where you start from. That's the context, right, that we operate from, that you are committing your business to operate from, and everybody that represents your business. So that's so true that it has to start from the top down. So Bill, what is your take? What are core values to you?
Well, core values to me, well, you know, it's a nice callback to last week when we talked about the value statement. You know, and I believe that that the core values must be definable. Otherwise, you really can't get a buy-in from anybody. You know, and while these core values have to be defined by the leadership, and be a top-down product, buy-in has to be bottom up. You know, because if the boots on the ground don't appreciate or buy into those values, then the companies, then you might as well not have them.
Right.
But the core values are just it's a set of things that are valuable, as David said. They're valuable to you. They may not be something that can be bought or sold. They don't necessarily go on the balance sheet. but they are important to the company to do what it is the company wants to do, whether that be make money at all costs or make the world a better place while we make money, or somewhere in between. We definitely need to have those core values.
Absolutely. Yeah, the way I see it, it's a guiding light, right? It's your compass, where you're going as a business. And so I'd love to actually hear, because part of coming up with your company core values, you don't want it to be too big of a list, a laundry list, where it just becomes a plaque on the wall, or somewhere digitally sitting collecting digital dust or physical dust. So we want to limit it down to 5 to 7 or 8 at the max. So it's kind of perfect. We got 5 people here. I'd love to hear. I know it's hard to pick like your top one, but just one that's really top of mind for you, that's really critical. So we'll start with you, Bill. Pick a core value that you operate from, whether it be representing just yourself or your business, but one that comes to mind that's always top of mind for you, and why that matters to you.
Well, it would probably have to be something along the lines of your concern for the employees, for the people down the ladder.
Well, I'm not saying hypothetically. I want actually.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to think through to get something that would be definable as a core value.
Sure.
I mean, the employees themselves. It's like our employees are the greatest asset we have.
Love it. So valuing people is what I'm hearing you saying. Is that pretty accurate? Okay. Awesome.
Absolutely.
And why does that?
That's the core. That's the core of ethical leadership.
Absolutely.
The ethical leadership I teach.
Very cool. Very cool. I was going to say that ties in perfectly with your style of leadership. That's awesome. Yeah. Stacey, how about you? What's top of mind for you when it comes to a core value that you operate from, and why that matters to you?
Why it matters to me? One of the organizations that I'm a part of, the Wealth Builders. I just want to some of the core values that are important to me. One is, and I'll give you. This is going to be my question to Doc C, because these core values that I'm going to name, my question is, can they be measurable? So one is like, take responsibility, deal direct. If you have an issue with someone, either deal directly with them or let it go. Constant personal communication, have that. Lead by example. All of those are important. And it's funny when there is a conflict or if there is an issue within the office, that's what I think of. It's like, if either deal with it or let it go. So it guides my decisions and my behavior when I'm dealing within that organization, because I know that is what we're all striving for, is to everyone to not just buy into it, but to be able to, be able to demonstrate those core values in the way we interact with each other, the way we interact with our clients. And so, but I'm wondering, can those types of core values be measurable? And so that would be my question to Doc C.
Doc?
Go for it, Doc. What do you say, Doc? I want to hear this too.
And that's one of the things when you develop these core values. I think it kind of Bill touched on a little bit is, and I've always said this, you give more in value than you take in dollars, because if you're not making money in any business, these core values mean nothing. Nothing. Let's face it. I mean, that's the bottom line. So behind all of that, I would choose, back to you, Charlie, I would choose compassion. I think that compassion would be the ultimate number one in any company. Compassion for well-being, because all of us we're human and we're fallible. We make mistakes. But I think to answer your question, Stacey, I think that when you build some core values in a business culture, you have to be able to measure them so that you can assist or at least help humans go in and out of them. As we mentioned last week, they're systems, and you have to be able to measure it to actually help humans go in and out of these systems to make them better, to make them better. Now, you're going to have the 5% or 10% or whatever percentage of humans that just don't want to follow the rules, and that's just the way it is. There's no way around it. But you deal with them with that C word, and that is compassion. You deal with them. You say, hey, Johnny, you're not working within our system. We're going to have to let you go, and we'll write you a recommendation or whatever that might be. But I think that to answer your question, Charlie, I think that compassion is probably number one in my book, and then you kind of can filter down with all the others after compassion, because competition, that's the nature of business. And if you're not making any money, it doesn't matter what you do. So I think if you start with compassion, because everybody knows that you're going to compete with your competitor that's maybe a block away. You're just going to have to do it better. And what is that going to involve? Compassion. That's my 2 cents.
So now I know what the C stands for in Doc C. Doc for compassion. All right, love it. Awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice. Well, David, I'd love to hear a key core value that's that you operate from, why it matters to you, and also the measurability part of it, because that's true. Like, we always talk about setting SMART goals or things like that. So, which is like, specific, measurable, achievable, attainable, realistic and time bound. So sometimes are we required to actually have our core values follow that SMART format? You know what I mean? So please take us away.
Yeah, I think so. I want to back up just for a moment, because I think what Curtis is getting at, making money means you bring value. People do not pay you if you don't bring value. So really, if you're living your values, that's what I love about the United States and our capitalistic world, is that you could become innovative. You come up with something of value, and you can exchange that. And somebody says willingly they want to give you money because you make their life better. You bring something and you contribute. Now, I'm going to throw it back even further. When we talked about the 5 voices, we talked about who we are, right? It's really, I think, really important as entrepreneurs and business owners that we understand ourselves and our unique talents, abilities, and skills, because we're all uniquely made, and we all have different value that we can bring to others. And what I find sometimes challenging is people they see a value in somebody else or some other skill, and they try to mimic that, and it's not their value. It's not what they're specifically talented at, but they see somebody being successful at it, they try to mimic it rather than understanding who they are. And when they try to do that artificially, it doesn't last. So I just wanted to step back there for a minute. For me, in using the 5 voices tool as an example, because I literally had just printed these out and I shared these. This is mine. Connector.
Nice.
This is my primary voice, and a connector, and that's one of my main values is connection. And what's helped me in writing value, sometimes you start with a word, which I think is important, but if you can write a sentence to that word, it helps put some more meat on the bone. So for me, connection means we foster genuine connections with our clients, our colleagues, and our communities. We build strong relationships through trust and mutual respect, and that underpins everything we do. So could you measure that? Yes, I believe you could measure that. It's not in numbers necessarily, but it's trust. You see how the relationship, if I pick up the phone and I call somebody, will they call me right back, or I'll wait a week or 2 weeks or whatnot? They value the relationship, so the response is there. So how we measure that is going to be different depending on the value, and you can't apply it the same way every time. So I want to be careful about that. And is there some aspects of the SMART goals? A little bit, but I think that would be misapplied oftentimes in values specifically. Those are more for like goal, like specific tasks and measurable items, where a value is something you live forever, essentially. It never ends.
No, but I like how you mentioned that, David, because in how you frame that, I do believe that there's some way of measuring, because if you are to bring value to your clients, and that word encompasses following through and keeping your word and all of that, and you have a culture where employees are not valuing their clients, and you see sales going down, or you see customers who are not content. I believe there's a way to measure that in some type of that is measurable in some format or whatnot, right, Doxy? I think that's what but I think when people think of values, they think of being considerate and kind, and they're like, well, how do you measure that? Like if my employees are being kind to each other, or they're dealing directly with each other, well, you have to look at it within context of the whole culture, the company culture. If you got bickering, you got division, and you got all this other crap, going on, then you've got to take a step back and take a look at it and say, what's going on here? Now, Doxy's probably better at it as far as measuring it. I can see that there's madness going on and deal with it on a human emotional level. But I like the fact that that it's important for business owners to put some type of value on it, because I think then the importance of company core values becomes even more significant, because it really affects your bottom line. It affects the success of your business. And you know what I'm saying? It's deeper than just let's have some core values and everybody can we all get along? It's deeper than that. So
no, I do like the fact that you want to have some level of measurability, because how are you going to know and hold people accountable to your core values if there's not a way to measure that, right? And so I'd love to just hear some ways that maybe you've seen it done, or you currently are advising businesses to do it a certain way, in terms of actually looking at the current staff and looking at your core values that you're committed to, and obviously first and foremost making sure they're all on board with it, and then actually having a way to track, like, okay, are you there's those different measure. There's like a detractor versus a promoter versus neutral, right? So what are some ways that you are holding the company and the whole team, the whole staff accountable to your core values? So well, David, we'll start.
Yeah, I just want to add. So I think, like I said, and I invite everybody on the call here tonight, if you guys have a value and you're not clear on, let's work on it, because I think there's power in refining it and asking ourselves the question. So if you come up with a word, right? So I think one of the words.
A word. Yeah. So I didn't get to share my value.
Let's hear
reliable and consistent. Yeah, reliable and consistent. Yeah.
So that's your word. Those are your values. But then you want to put some kind of, so Charlie, I'll just ask you. So you say reliable and consistent, and then an employee or your coworker says, well, what does that exactly mean? I have some idea, but that's where I'm saying if you can add a sentence or two to that value, it gives some context. So I'll give you an example just for me, Charlie, and then we'll come back for a sec. Just so, because I think somebody else said it. Like kindness or compassion. So I use kindness as another value. I have kindness too. So I say kindness. I say in my sentence, I have it up here. So I want to make sure I get this down there. I know the words, but the word. But we approach our work with kindness and empathy. We understand that every interaction, no matter how small, has the potential to make a positive impact on the lives of others. That's what kindness means. So if I'm living kindness and somebody says they don't show empathy, right? Or they don't value each interaction with an individual, no matter how small, then we're saying, hey, we're out of alignment with our values in this company. So that's a way that then you can say, what does that look like? So when I say that, Charlie, when you talk about reliability, how would you put a sentence to that so that somebody in your company would know they're actually living that value? So do you have a sentence or an idea? Or not, right?
Or
Well,
not.
I don't have it yet. Yeah, so that's a great point. That's some homework I got to do.
Right. Well, that's the thing, and that's if we have a company culture like you're talking about, Stacey, where we can't really hold accountable, but like we show up for each other and we say we all agreed to these values, right? And now we're off target. That gives us the I don't know, we're calling to speak into our coworkers or those in our lives, your church organization, right? That is not living those values. Because you said, I didn't force it on you. You said, I'm coming into this organization. I believe in these values. I'm setting up. And then when we fall short of those values, we call the person out because I wasn't forcing you. You willingly adopted these and said you were going to live by them.
Okay, so
Right.
I have a question on that note. So then, from what I'm hearing you say is, let's say you set up a business, you establish these core values. You're saying individuals can come in and they create their own core values, or as Bill had mentioned, that you have company core values. There's got to be buy-in from the bottom. Correct, Bill? You got to have some
Right,
buy-in.
Bill.
Yes.
Bill. Right.
So here's the thing: is I guess the question would be then, and how do you get buy-in? I mean, what is your experience, or how do you feel that companies can get their employees to buy in? And because we already know if they're not, if they don't adhere to the corporate, values,
Yeah,
let them go.
Bill. I'd love to hear Bill because you're talking about ethics too, Bill. Yeah.
Yes. Well, one of the ways is and the best way I've found so far is to involve the people on the ground in their development. It's kind of like an ethical Inception, if you ever saw the movie, but an ethical form of Inception, where you basically you get the people you want to buy in to think of it as their own idea. And so if you get them to help develop the values, then it becomes internalized. They suddenly, it was my idea to have this concern for the employees. And if you wanted it to be actionable, then yeah, you'd have to do something like using the SMART guidelines. I actually have smarter guidelines. Specific, measurable, ambitious, realistic, time-bound, ethical, because you got to have the ethical in there, and reevaluable, because you have to be able to go back and be able to, okay, this isn't working, or this could work better. Let's reevaluate that. And but yeah, to go back to the question, yeah, it's all about Yeah, I think the best way is just simply getting the people involved in developing it, so that it's not an order from on high.
I got a question for Stacey, because Stacey, you do benefits in helping people, right? In other companies, right?
Right.
So one of the things I've seen then in the past, and I love what you shared, Bill, is how do you regularly embrace those values? So an example we used to do at one of my companies, that we would do a recognition program. So when somebody was living that value, we would literally write up and say a recognition, like, hey, you live this value today. And we give them a $10, $20 gift card, because they're living it. What's the value? What were you doing that embodied that? And you could be gift card. It could be, recognition during a meeting, right, Stacey?
Right.
You work with people all the time, so you have to figure out, right? You have to figure out what benefits matter to the employer and the employees, because you can have a lot of different things, but what matters to them and gets them engaged, excited, right?
Right. So your question to me is repeat your question again, please.
It's just to think about, Stacey. I think is one way. You're asking, how do you get people to get buy-in? I think using your skills as go,
Oh, I see. I see.
what the employees' self-interest, like what is it they're interested, what motivates them, right? So you
So,
can incorporate that into the
right.
values.
What I find is, and it's an interesting question. Let me give you an example how I see corporate values into play and how it starts from the top. How it starts from the top, and you have to get buy-in from the bottom. A lot of the small companies, again, who don't have established strong corporate values, or they're there but they're not defined clearly. And I have some that do. For example, let's say that they want to, the owner wants to show the employees that he or she cares about them, and that part of it is that they want to be able to attract better talent and retain better talent. And they understand that bringing in benefits is one way that statistically shows that you can attract better talent. So I've gone to business owners that currently don't offer any benefits, and I'll talk to them and give them strategies of either how to bring in benefits at affordably or at no cost, all these different choices. And they'll say something like, well, my people can't afford it, or they don't want it. Um, and so, and then I look at that and I go, well, if one of your values is to show your business, your employees, that you value them and you want to offer the benefits, that's one side there. Whether or not they take it or not, that's on them. But when you start allowing your staff to dictate how you now demonstrate how you care for your staff or how you show appreciation, whatnot, based on their behavior, now you set up a company culture where nobody wants to come into your business because you don't offer any benefits. You allowed your current situation, your current staff, to dictate whether or not you offer benefits, because instead of thinking in the future, like, this is how I want my business to look like, this is how I want to be able to attract this type of employee that values this and this and that. They look at where they currently are with their current staff, and then they allow that culture to develop within that company. Does that make sense? And that blows me away, because I'm thinking, well, but they're thinking, well, if you have to come and spend an hour a year to present benefits and they don't want it, then I've got to pay them and it's a waste of time. That's a small picture. The bigger picture would be, how do I want my corporation to look like? How do I want to demonstrate that I care for my employees? And I'm going to dictate the culture. They don't want it, fine, but I will bring in people that see the value of working for my company. You understand what I'm saying? And one more example. I have an HR director. He's young, and he he was going to follow what he learned, behaviors that he learned as an HR director at his previous job. And so if the people, new hires would come in, he would say, we offer these benefits. And then if they said we didn't want it, he would say, okay. And I said, I'll call him George. Some of the best practices with the larger companies would be to offer the benefits, but require that they sit in front of me to get the education. If they don't want it, they can sign a waiver. That protects you as the corporation, so no one can go back and say, well, it was never offered the benefits. They actually were educated, and so I'm amazed at every new hire that he brings on, they're required to talk to me. And if they don't want it, they don't have it. So he's created this culture and this expectation because, one, he holds them to that standard, and he doesn't back down. And so that's what I see right now in some of the businesses that I work with, of how the owner is upholding the standard of the culture, and where they're allowing the employees to dictate that, and how they get stuck in this cycle of culture, this culture among the employees that they don't like. Is their babies become something that they don't like because they've allowed employees to set the standards and the values and whatnot. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope you got something out of that.
I got something out of that. No, I hear you, Stacey. I mean, real quick, because I really want to get Doc. I want to hear Doc C and Charlie, but just to respond to your question, because yes, I believe you can have, if values aren't clear, like you're saying, or the business owner, the employees there will be values, whether you agree with them or not. their values. And I think what I heard you say, Stacey, is that if you're not intentional about that, the employees will start to do that, and that may not be in the best interest of the business long term. So if you're not paying attention to that, there's a vacuum. It will be filled one way or the other, is what I'm hearing you say. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Charlie,
Yeah,
I'll throw it
Doc,
back to you.
I'm still trying to figure out, Doc, how are we gonna fire people that don't align with our core values? And I heard you say it like in a very nice way, so I want to hear how can you hold people accountable to core values?
Well, now you're talking about how large the company is and if they have an HR department. Because if they have an HR department, then there's several steps that you have to go through to maybe let somebody go, and of course you have to give them an opportunity for personal development. But as I was listening to, and not to redirect what your question was, Charlie, but as I was listening to David and Stacey, one of the things that I do, and even when I work with companies to exit or even merge, and you have different cultures and even build cultures, is the first thing that I always ask is why, and this is to the leadership team, is why is your company dysfunctional? Because it is. I don't care what every organization is, and that's not being negative. It's a fact. So the very first question I always ask is why is it dysfunctional? That's where you start, and then you start to build maybe or rebuild these core values that you speak of. And I did mention a little bit of the HR department. I think the HR department has made companies even better than what they were before, because the HR department is just kind of a sounding board for management and employees. But at the same time, at least someone is there to listen to the problems, because these employees are trying to work through these common core values that we have, or even the systems. And what we have to do is, or at least not us personally, but for those that are listening to this, is that you have to understand that we're fallible. I've said that before. And when you know that humans are fallible, then you know this. You know that you're going to have to give them checks and balances and a chance to recover, and a chance to personally grow. And you have to have equality within all of that. So, I mean, it's a lot of work to develop these core values, but at the same time, it's doable. You just have to be able to have it measurable. I've said that before too.
Yeah.
I just have a question on that.
Go ahead.
So regarding small business owners that have multiple hats and they don't have it in their budget to have an HR division, how can small business owners address that or create a sense of HR department? And
I'll tell you, Stacey, I'm glad you asked that question, because you're absolutely correct. The small business owner with all the hats, they're a mess. They are absolutely a mess. And if you're a small business owner listening to this, you are a mess because of all those hats. And when you're wearing all those hats, it causes problems with your small business. That's why they hire companies like you, Stacey, and there are companies out there that you can pay monthly fee to that have even HR with them that can help you with that. ADP, I mean, I can name several of them that are out there. And if you're a small business owner with, it's yourself and 5 employees, I would encourage them to actually spend the money to actually do just that. Right. And hire people like David and you, Stacey, and even Bill to help them along with that. They need the help. They just don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the money, but they need they need it for sure.
Yeah.
That gets an amen.
Amen. I'll add on to that, because I'm looking at just that's why one of my other core values, Doxy, as you're talking about that, is proactive. You got to be proactive as a business owner, small business owner, and be forward thinking, anticipate these needs, plan, and then, like you said, look for outside help. My goodness, I've learned that from other entrepreneurs, and you're trying to be all these things, and the investment you can, the advancement you can make, like you're saying, that actually, if you just spend a little bit, you don't need a full-time HR person. Most small businesses do not. You just need somebody for a season or a time, and that's all you need. So you got to think a little bit more strategically here. But I think sometimes they feel like it has to be all one or the other. So that's why we have this whole podcast and discussion, is to open up your mind to the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of more. Let's go with boutique instead of small, but boutique HR companies out there that would serve you for an hour a month or 3 hours every 2 months, or whatever it is that your needs happen to be. It's out there. You can find it. I'm sure between the five of us, we could probably recommend several.
That's right.
Leave a comment if you're struggling. Those are there.
You're absolutely correct, Bill. And employees don't want to go. They have issues, and they don't want to go to the owner and tell them their issue, because they know exactly how it works. So they'd rather talk to an independent party or HR or somebody out there that will actually listen to what they have to say. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
So I don't know how much time we have. I know that years ago I owned a learning center, and I'm gonna throw a scenario out there. And so I need all of us to collaborate on this problem. I had an instructor that was coming from LA. She knew, and it was all the way in Rancho Palos Verdes, was where my center was located. She accepted the position. And when she first started, she was on time. And then she started arriving late, which would hold up the classes that she was scheduled to teach. And so at some point I said, because I was one of those business owners that wore multiple hats, I brought her in and I said, this is a problem. What can I do to help you, get on time, to not mess up the classes? And I tried to work with her. And there was no solution. I mean, I gave her multiple attempts to help her. And at one point I said, you know what, if this happens again, I have to let you go. I just have to let you go. So in her mind, her problem was, now here's the thing, HR companies are not going to solve immature problems like get your behind on the road early enough so that you can get to your work, late. I mean, there's some things that HR, you don't need to involve HR. And there's some not rules, but systems that you have to have in place to be able to gauge the behavior of your staff, so that you can, if that's where Doxy was talking about. You have to be able to gauge that. And there are times when you have to be able to put systems in place to document it. And then at some point, if you have to let them go. But at least you have a system to give them a chance to change or improve, and then, let them go. And then there are compliant questions that a lot of business owners have regarding how to deal with their employees, such as that. I think that's where the HR companies, I like what Bill said, the boutique ones. I like boutique. That looks cute. Sounds cute. Would come in handy, because it can advise the business owner on how to deal with that employee and the behavior of the employee. I don't know if HR boutique companies or ADP or whatnot just want employees picking up the phone complaining, my boss is too demanding, and my boss, I guess you have to set up understand what the role of the HR department is. And in other words, there's internal messes that are going on because of just human behavior, human issues. And then there's compliant issues where now the business owner needs to protect the business and the employees by making sure that they maintain some form of compliance so that they don't get in trouble and just lose the company. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there has to be a separation as the types of messes that we're talking about, is my point. So.
Yeah. I'll just add, I mean, I'm not an HR specialist, and there are legal things that an HR person does, like you're saying, Stacey, with compliance. So that's a very specific role. Now it may blend over to some of the things we're talking about, but ultimately the HR's responsibility is to protect the company. That's what they're supposed to do. They are watching with the people, but they're at the end of the day, they're looking at risk with the company.
Right.
And so,
right. But you still need some type of systems to be able to deal with just human nature. I mean,
I agree. Well, that's what I do, right? That's what Bil does too. I mean, we come into organizations, we look at I look at the organizational health, what is going on there, and I come in as kind of like a doctor, if you will, Stacey, like kind of opening up and like, where does it hurt? What's going on? And to start to get people to talk to, because what I found, Stacey, and what your very point is, the most employees are not going to go to the business owner, even the most open and welcoming business owner in the world. They won't go to the business owner and tell them, even if the business owner them straight in the face and tells them, please talk to me about this. They're just by their own, by their own decision, they just don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like they can go talk to the business owner. So what happens in my experience is, this is why I started my company, is to come in as a third party, because then it's like, hey, David's doesn't work here. He could leave at any time. I can open up and share with him. So where you're getting at, Stacey, right here is like, where as a business owner can you find that? Whether it's me as a consultant or a situation, sometimes you'll, depending on the level of the people in the organization, they're a similar peer group, if they're working with somebody below the business owner, they might talk with their direct supervisor or somebody else with a peer group and you can get information from them that way if you're strategic and you know how to invite that. But not a lot of business owners do that, and they don't know how to really get clear. Number one, just to get some clear information and then to take action on it. It's unclear to them. So you're absolutely right. And if you don't do that, though, like you said earlier, Stacey, they're gonna do their own thing, and it can get bad. It can be kind of cancerous if you're not intentional.
Absolutely. Right. You got people talking bad about each other and backstabbing and just all. I like what Doxy said, mess. So David, thank you for that. I'm glad that you go in and help cut the cancer out too. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's. I really appreciate all the different scenarios, and I think we could definitely have a whole different segment on HR. But let's pivot here. I want to end on a high note, and I want to hear just each of your take, just 1 minute. How can core values transform your business? So we'll start with Bil, and then we'll come around.
Well, it can change your business in many ways. It can both limit you, give you boundaries, I guess would be a better way to put it. It's like we as a company don't go there, wherever there happens to be. And, which is definitely a good thing, because we as people should have boundaries around certain things. You don't go there with me, on this. You don't go there, whatever. And a company is no less needing of these boundaries. I think the right values can direct the company, for sure. Again, through in a sense, through boundaries. And then many of these many values can actually be freeing.
Yep.
It's like, it may sound like it's binding you to something, but really within that, it gives you ultimate freedom.
Yes.
And so having the right set of values can direct and free the company.
I love that paradox.
To do it.
I love that paradox. The boundaries set you free, and they absolutely do.
Yes.
Because without boundaries, we have no idea what success looks like, and so that's amazing. Doc C, how can core values transform your business? So we're speaking to the business owners that we're directing this at.
Tell you, Bil hit on it really well. I mean, the bottom line is we're emotional beings, and And these core values that we're speaking about, the stronger, the better, however you want to say it, that you develop these core values, because the core values in itself, it's based on our emotional intelligence. And because we're emotional, the better they are, the better our company will be. No question. No question. And I'll just say this, that you're going to have systems in place as well. And if they can run parallel to those core values, which makes it even better and makes it even stronger. But as I think Bill touched on, it's really tough for us to actually determine what's really good for us or what's really bad for us. It's those boundaries that you're talking about. And sometimes those boundaries that you speak of, is we put those boundaries on ourselves, and we need others to actually help us get out of those boundaries. And I think that those values that we're speaking about are so important to that's where the personal growth comes in.
Yeah. Stacey. Yes, absolutely. I think the boundaries one, that's a whole separate segment as well. But Stacey, can you
Yes.
share how core values can help transform your business?
Absolutely. So a company's biggest asset is their workforce. And without a strong workforce, you cannot create a large, successful company period, unless you plan on being a solopreneur. And because we're all human, those core values are necessary to guide, to set the boundaries, to set the expectations, to set all of that in place for the behavior of the company, along with the systems. I mean, you can have systems, but if you don't have the core values, forget the systems. And so when you understand that, and you value that, and you bring in the right resources to help you create that strong workforce that encompasses all of that, it will take your business to the next level, because now you can create a well-oiled machine and know what to expect from your employees and from your staff to be able to get to the next level. You can't create a business with a strong business model with chaos. And so again, that's how you take your business to the next level, is get rid of the cancer, the mold, the chaos, and create a culture and expectations from your staff that will allow you to be able to now take your corporation to the next level. So
Yeah, absolutely. So what I hear is just alignment, right, and clarity. That's what's going to give you that
absolutely.
ability to grow and to transform your business and to expand and thrive. So lastly, let's close out with you, David. I like what you talked about in terms of the recognition, right, of the core values, and recognizing people when they do exemplify that. So there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but behavior that is recognized and rewarded is often repeated. So David, share how core values, and when there's total alignment, how can that help transform your business? And we'll close out for the night.
Well, I love that. Transformation is one of my core values. So as a business, we don't want to just stay the same, right? We want to become something more. We really want to transform ourselves. We don't want to just change, but we embrace change. And so I think when we embrace these values, we can see the opportunity for growth. And my sentence, if you will, for the transformation value is that we are adaptable and resilient, and that way we continuously seek ways to transform challenges into opportunities for innovation and improvement. A company can improve, it can innovate. If you're not innovating, if you're not really transforming yourself, we all know you will not be a business for long in this world. It's ever changing. There's always dynamics. So you have to make sure those values can sustain you through all of those ups and downs and keep you going. And truly, I love what you and Stacey were talking about. I love the idea of transformation, meaning who I am today, what I am today is going to be different in, a year from now, and anybody that's a small business owner, I'm doing it. Tell me about this. Like, right, you guys know, 3 months, 6 months from now, it's like a totally different place. It's like a whole nother generation, another generation. So if you're a small business owner, you're going to see a lot of that. Now, as your bigger businesses, it doesn't change as much, but you still should be transforming at all times. This is part of the business cycle, the life of a business. So absolutely. Thanks, Charlie, for letting me share on that.
Anytime. All right. Well, thank you, lady and gentlemen, for this amazing, just passionate session that we have here. I think we're so fired up talking about the different, different angles when it comes to core values. So I can't wait to go out and implement some of the ideas that I got here. Thank you all so much for your insights and experience. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.